Hey guys, this is Joe from Analog Archive, back with another vinyl video. Today's video is going to be my second vinyl finds of the year. It's been a while since I've made a video. My last video was actually the vinyl finds number one for 2022. It's been a while, as I said, since I made a video, but I've kind of gotten quite a stack of records since then. I've had the chance to be able to go to Rochester a few weeks ago, so anytime I go to Rochester, I always got to go to the Bob Shop, especially. I did check out Record Archive and Hi-Fi Lounge, which are some other places that are great record stores to go to in Rochester, but it's not, unfortunately, one that I always find a lot at. So, fortunately, that's just kind of the case. Hi-Fi Lounge, similar story. Great place to go. Unfortunately, this time I didn't find anything, so the stuff that I got in Rochester all came from the Bob Shop. Without further ado, just kind of getting into some of the finds for in the last kind of month and a half. First one, most recent, Tone Poet Latin Bit, Grant Green. Haven't had a chance to spin this, but if it's like any of the other Tone Poets in terms of the sound quality, definitely in for a treat. Really, I've been very pleased with the quality of the Tone Poets. Great Stout jacket and great pressing quality. This is kind of Grant Green's take on the bossa nova craze that had been sweeping through the jazz kind of community at the time in '60. This is recorded in '62, which is pretty early actually for bossa nova. A lot of that was more like '63, '64, but or even '65. I think like the Get Scoberto wasn't until like '65, so a few years before that. But always loved Grant Green. I've said in my other videos, he's my favorite jazz musician, so I was really happy to see this as a Tone Poet and excited to check this one out soon. First find from Rochester, actually not a jazz album. Sam Cooke, live at the Harlem Square Club, 1963. This is a different feel to a Sam Cooke album compared to his other albums. Most of his albums are more soulful, slower, just absolutely incredible vocals. You definitely get that really strong vocal sound on it, but this is more of like almost like a rhythm and blues type take. Really great interaction between Sam Cooke and the audience on this, and it would have been an absolutely phenomenal time to go see this set. But a really more fast moving type album, and absolutely love it. Been looking for this for a while. Even though this came from 1963, the actual vinyl pressing wasn't until 1985, which is what this is. So sounds great. Really happy to have this again after looking for it for so long. Next one, we've got Stanley Turner, Another Story. Before actually finding this one, I found this actually in the basement at the Bob Shop. I'd never seen this album before. Stanley Turner was one of the early jazz musicians that I gravitated towards. I absolutely loved his performance on Kenny Burrell, Midnight Blue. That kind of really pulled me into the jazz world, especially jazz guitar as well. Stanley Turner was the first musician outside of a guitar player with Grant Green and Kenny Burrell that I explored. And again, never seen this one, but a little bit later, I think this is, March 1969. So after the sale, quite a few years actually, about 3 years after the sale. This has got Thad Jones on the flugelhorn, Cedar Walton on piano, Buster Williams bass, and Mickey Roker on the drums. So great lineup for the time. Most of it's a little more fast moving, but it's got that also classic soulful sound that Stanley Turner really brought to the saxophone. So really happy to have found this one. Again, never even knew about it, but a great one if you do see it. An iconic Blue Note session, Lee Morgan. Saw a copy of this about 2 years ago, right around the time of when the the record stores were opening again after the pandemic had kind of started, after the lockdown, and passed on it. The condition wasn't super great on it, but always had my eyes on this album. Saw this one recently in the stacks. Actually, one of the people that worked at the bop shop told me that this was his copy. He found an original and he put up his copy for sale. And it's a black bee from the 70s. And really excited to check this one out. Classic lineup, great lineup. Lee Morgan trumpet, Jackie McLean alto sax, Bobby Timmons piano, Paul Chambers bass, Art Blakey drums. So absolutely great session, and really excited to finally have this in the collection. So Lee Morgan. This is one people might not be as familiar with. This is Azar Lawrence Summer Solstice. This is from 1975. I think it was recorded 75. It came out like 76. This is on Prestige. It's on that really gross green label from the 70s. But this is a soulful, somewhat avant-garde type album, but somewhat also in kind of the just somewhat like bop kind of lane, hard bop lane. In terms of the lineup, Ron Carter features on the bass. Let's see if there's any. Billy Hart plays the drums on a few tracks. But I was actually looking for some Yusef Lateef stuff in the basement at the bop shop, and I came across this album. Was really intrigued by the cover, saw that it was on Prestige. A lot of stuff on Prestige is usually great. I felt like I'd heard of Azar Lawrence. Not really sure where I had, but was once I heard this album, I knew I had to have it. But a really great one. Not super expensive, but a great one if you can find it. So that's Summer Solstice, Azar Lawrence. But getting into these later 70s pressings, these what they call the Blue Note Classic ones. This is a recent one I found. This is Take Aim, Harold Land. This is similar to those Blue Note twofers that came out in the late 70s. Just a lot of, I think these were almost always, actually I don't think it's almost, I think these were always showcasing albums that had not been released at the time of when they were recorded. So this is from 1960. It's got Harold Land tenor sax, Martin Banks is on the trumpet, Amos Trice is on the piano, Clarence Jones on drums, and Leon Pettis is also on the drums. This was actually recorded in Los Angeles, which might have been part of why maybe it didn't come out at the time. It does say the engineer was Van Gelder. It's interesting that he recorded an album in Los Angeles instead of in his studio in New Jersey, but West Coast player Harold Land, absolutely phenomenal player in the early 60s. This is right in his kind of heyday, so once I saw that this was from 1960, I knew that I had to have it. So Take Aim, Harold Land, great way to get these albums. This one I don't think has added many represses. I know there's probably not any represses recently of this, so really excited about that one. Next one's another one, another Blue Note classic. This is Taru Lee Morgan. This has got Lee Morgan trumpet, Benny Maupin tenor sax, George Benson guitar, John Hicks piano, Reggie Workman bass, Billy Higgins is on the drums. This is from February 1968, so a few years after Lee Morgan had returned to jazz after his hiatus because of some drug issues. But again, another one that was recorded in 68 but was shelved until this came out. This is from 1980. This is another one I don't think has a any recent represses of it. There might be a Japanese pressing from the 70s. I'm not positive on that, but the kind of the original form was this one, the White Bee label. So been really happy with the sound quality of these. A great way to listen to albums that have somewhat kind of been shelved for whatever reason. So another great one, Taru Lee Morgan. Was real excited to see this one in the stacks for real cheap. This is just $15. The new Boss guitar of George Benson. Fortunately, this isn't an original. This is actually a pretty difficult original to find. Most of George Benson's catalog is actually pretty easy to find. I know when I was big into George Benson over the summer, been kind of collecting a lot of his albums, I found almost all of the albums in the basement at the Bop Shop, and multiple albums. They had like five, 6 copies of it easily. But this is kind of the one album. I believe this is his first album from 1964, and it's just a tough one to find. Really hard to find in an original form. This is from the early 70s, 1972. Again, also on that gross green Prestige label. This has got George Benson guitar, Jack McDuff piano and organ, Red Holloway is on the tenor sax, Ronnie Boykins on the bass, and Montego Joe is on the drums. Great hard bop type kind of soul jazz sound to it, again from 1964. Really happy to have found this. Hope to one day find an original, but for now this is definitely going to be a great placeholder. All right, as we continue kind of getting into some of the bigger ones, some tougher to find ones. This is Commitment, Harold Vick. I was looking for some other Harold Vick albums at the time at the Bop Shop, and came across this one. Had never heard of it, but saw this was on the Muse record label, which is a great label from the 70s. Definitely find a lot of great jazz music on the label for relatively cheap. So was really happy about this one. Great sound to it, great sound quality, really great rhythm to it. It's got Victor Feldman is on the piano and the vibes. He mostly plays the vibes, but I think there's one track that he plays the piano on. Ben Tucker's on the bass. Walter Bishop's on the piano. He's a great player. Started in the 50s. Actually, he might have even started earlier than that. But I know he was definitely big in the 50s. Got kind of, I think his career started in the 50s. And somewhat had a revitalization in the 70s, but great piano player. Mickey Roker features on the drums on this one as well. Herb Bushler is on the piano. Is on the bass, and then Malcolm Riddick is on the guitar, and then Harold Vick, the multi-reed player, is on. He mostly plays the soprano, but he also plays tenor on a few, and then he plays the flute on just on one of the tracks. So really great sound to it. Love Harold Vick. This is a perfect album for him. Really been able to kind of explore the different sounds, and a great one as well. Another great 70s album, Sonny Red. This is self-titled. Great player from the 60s. He had Out of the Blue, which is coming out next month on the Tone Poet, part of the Blue Note Tone Poet series. He plays tenor sax, alto sax, and the flute. You got Cedar Walton on piano. Herbie Lewis is on the bass and the viola, and then Billy Higgins is on the drums. This is just a great hard-hitting, hard bop album. Really great sound to it. Just absolutely hard, really kind of piercing saxophone tone, and just a really great one. Never seen this one before. This is on the Mainstream label. It's got this Roulette, distributed by Roulette Records sticker. Couldn't really find out more information about that in terms of on the Discogs listing, but just, yeah, kind of a cool one. Next one, absolutely love this artist. Would love to find more. Just a real tough one to find. This is Charles Toliver, Paperman. This is the reissue on Arista from the mid-70s. I think it's from 76. Originally from 1968. And this came out on the Black Lion label around that time. It might have been early 70s. This came out on Black Lion. It might have been the late 60s, early 70s. And then it was reissued in 75 on Arista. I have his other album that he did around the same time. I showed that one off over the summer. But just as I said before, love Charles Toliver, an absolutely amazing trumpet player, really great tone, has this great versatility, being able to play these beautiful ballads, but also to really push the tempo as well. You've got Gary Bartz is on the alto sax on the B side, Herbie Hancock on the piano, Ron Carter bass, Joe Chambers on the drums. So obviously an amazing lineup. Would love to find an original of this. Maybe I'll see it. I've never seen one before, but this great reissue, real cheap. These are only like usually 10, 15 bucks for them. Sound really good, so excited to check this one out soon as well. This is one that I saw in a video recently in the last maybe few weeks. I can't remember if this was yeah, I don't remember if this was Dave Local Bandography showed this one, or if it was somebody else, but this is Billy Hart in Chants. It's got almost every song has a slightly different lineup to it, but you've got Billy Hart is on the drums, Oliver Lake is on the alto sax on most, let's see if it's all, he plays on all the tracks, but plays alto mostly, and then you've got 2 tracks that he features on the flute. You've got Dewey Redman plays on, I think, all the tracks as well. But you've got like Eddie Henderson plays on a few of the tracks on the trumpet. Buster Williams is on the acoustic bass. On most of the tracks, you have Dave Holland also is on the bass on a few of the tracks. This is from 1977. This is on the Horizons A&M label. Was really happy to have found this one. This is actually it's a little bit, I should say pretty hard, but this is a little bit more challenging one to find, especially with the label that it's on. Have not had a chance to listen to it, but streaming this before buying it, absolutely loved it. So excited to check that one out soon. The last one from this Blue Note Classic. This is my most recent online purchase from Discogs. This is from eBay actually. It's a Solid Grant Green. This is one that actually has had a more recent reissue. Unfortunately, it was one of the SRX ones, so it was one that you kind of had to be there at the right time to grab it. It might have been available for a bit, but once the word got out about the SRX, those usually were gone pretty quickly. There is also a more recent, I think the SRX was from 2019, and then there was one 2019 or 2020. I think it might have been 2019, and then there was just a 33 RPM one in the last maybe year or two. I'm pretty sure might have been a few years old, but all like Music Matters type releases. Nothing really super easy to find unless you were just there at the right time. This is the original release from 1979, originally from 1964. It's got Grant Green guitar, Joe Henderson tenor sax, James Spaulding alto sax, McCoy Tyner piano, Bob Cranshaw bass, and Elvin Jones on the drums. Some people consider this to be actually one of Grant Green's better sessions. I mean, I love Grant Green, as I said at the beginning of the video, so really have a hard time finding bad albums from him. But after listening to this is definitely a great one. Nothing really too slow. Everything is more mid to more higher tempo, which is unique for Grant Green. He always seemed to weave in faster and kind of slower tunes. This is also a rarer album at the time for him not to have an organ and for him to have some other kind of horns on it. But absolutely love this one. Got a great price on it on eBay, and again, super happy to have that one. Getting towards the last few. This is a great find. I got this from Angry Mom Records in Ithaca. Dom, Seeking a Thread here on YouTube, is one of the employees there. Love his channel. Definitely check out his channel if you haven't already. Saw on their Instagram probably beginning of February that they're having a jazz auction, and always loved Billy Harper. So when I saw this album up for sale, never had heard this one before, but after streaming it, absolutely loved it. Um, this is an album that was recorded in uh, Milano in Germany, or not Germany, in Italy. So it's got a lineup that I think he was traveling Europe with. Not really any names that I've heard. You've got Everett Hollins on the trumpet, Fred Hirsch on piano, Louis Mbeki Spears on the bass, and Horace, or I think it's Horace Arnold on the drums. Somewhat of a it's pretty avant-garde, I would say. Maybe a little free. There's some points where it gets a little bit heavier with just the kind of the tone of Billy Harper's sax, but for the most part stays in that more avant-garde lane. Nothing too out there, but absolutely amazing album. Love this one immediately. Great sound quality. This is from the Soul Note label of the late 70s. This is an Italian label, so this is a tough one to find. Got a really great price for this one, and really happy to have it. So that's Billy Harper Quintet in Europe. Last three, Bop Shop find. This is Booker Little, self-titled, on the Time Records label. This is from 1960. It's got Booker Little on the trumpet, Wynton Kelly on piano, Tommy Flanagan on piano, Scott LaFaro on bass, and Roy Haynes on the drums. I think honestly, outside of Bill Evans, I have never seen Scott LaFaro on another album. Might just be because I haven't really explored a lot, but never seen. I don't think I have any albums that actually have Scott LaFaro outside of like Bill Evans sessions, and so a great one. Just overall, a little bit slower of a tempo, but really great sound to it, and happy to have this one. This is a tougher one to find. It's not super expensive for something that's from the 60s, but a great one. So happy about that. And then as we get kind of towards the end, this next one, if you follow me on Instagram, I actually just showed this one last week. This is Contours, Sam Rivers. The cover is absolutely trashed. Both the front and the back of it are just absolutely trashed. This was actually a find from the Bop Shop. I'll show this one. I found this in the basement at the Bop Shop. This is one of those ones where probably one of the best finds I've ever had in the basement. But this is actually an original mono. On the New York labels. Got a really good price for it just because of the jacket. It does have a warp on the A side. The warp doesn't affect the play, and it actually honestly plays like almost near mint. I'm thinking of getting like a vinyl flat. Talked to like Bob Bradley here on YouTube about it. Thinking about getting it just so that I can see if I can get the warp down on this, just for more cosmetic reasons and stuff. But absolutely amazing album. There is a Tone Poet of this that came out, I believe, maybe 2020. It might have been it probably was 2020. Not positive though. And it would be actually interesting to hear this in stereo. So maybe pick that one up to kind of compare the two. But absolutely amazing album. Sounds incredible. This is a really great Sam Rivers session. It's got Freddie Hubbard on the trumpet. Sam Rivers plays tenor sax, soprano sax, and then he plays the flute on one of the tracks. You've got Herbie Hancock piano, Ron Carter bass, and Joe Chambers on the drums. So a great kind of mid-60s lineup for Blue Note, and absolutely love this one. And the last one is definitely my best find in the last month and a half, I would say. Have had some amazing luck with stuff online and then also at the Bob Shop, but this is definitely my best find so far. And maybe even this year, this might be one of the best finds I've had. So this is Calvin Key's Proceed with Caution. This is his second record on the Black Jazz label. His first one is called Shawnee from 1971, and then this one is from 74. This was on the very short-lived Black Jazz label. They had 25 releases spanning from 1971 to 1975. This is number 18, so you're getting kind of towards the end. But this has got a lineup of a lot of players that featured on other Black Jazz labels, or sorry, Black Jazz records. You've got Calvin Keys on the guitar. Charles Owens is amazing. Soprano, tenor sax, and the flute. You've got Henry Franklin on the bass. Oscar Brashear is on the trumpet and the flugelhorn. Owen Marshall's on percussion. And then he also features on, let's see, the papali and the bongos. This is a little bit different of a sound than his original. Both of them are more kind of jazz funk. This one, I think, is a little bit more, there's a little more control with this one. The first one is a little bit more raw. I think he kind of just matured from that one to this one, but absolutely love jazz guitar. As I said, love Grant Green, love Kenny Burrell. And I have Shawnee. I don't have an original of that one, but this one actually is an original. And not only is it original, it's a promo as well. So sounds amazing. These Black Jazz label records, absolutely incredible. Great thing about them too is in the last year, they started to become reissued by Real Gone Music. Relatively easy to find. They're about 25, maybe $30 at most. They've, I think, done most of the Black Jazz catalog. This one was actually just a more recent one. I think this one, Proceed with Caution, was from like December 2021. So just in the last few months, it was reissued. But his first album is on it. You've got the Henry Franklin's albums are on it, and you had Gene Russell, and you've got the different players like that. So a great label. Absolutely love this one, Proceed with Caution, and really happy to have this. So a lot of records to show. I think there's 17. Kind of like to spread it out more, but, or sorry, I like to kind of break it up, so it's not as big of a kind of video or long of a video, but hope you like what you saw. If you did, please think about liking and subscribing. Again, be back soon with some another idea for a video. Don't really like that I'm just kind of making vinyl finds. I'd like to do some other kind of jazz related videos, so that's something that'll hopefully be coming in the future. This is also my second year making, this is the second year anniversary of me making YouTube videos. So remember 2 years ago, starting with just my channel with the vinyl tag 2020, right at the beginning of the pandemic. So much uncertainty and somewhat kind of a scary time. 2 years later, things are better. Kind of still dealing with a lot of that stuff though, with COVID. But yeah, so I hope you like what you saw. Please think about liking and subscribing, and I will see you in the next vinyl video.